News Talk 1430 WXNT. This is The Edge of the Web with Aaron Sparks.
Welcome back to Edge of the Web Radio. Thanks for joining us. We're talking to Jason Falls and Eric Deckers, the authors of a great book, No BS Social Media. It's a fantastic book, really an instructional guide on how to get into the market and understand the new marketplace, the new consumer. Jason and Eric, thanks for coming back.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Not a problem. You know what? One of the quick excerpts in the book I also tickled me is that you're talking about today's consumer and how they're different, but you, the business owner, may still be the same old dinosaur. One of the great excerpts out of this book was you describing a conversation from a business owner or executive of a company that's not engaging in social media. They say, our customers aren't using social media. And that seems to be the common response from executives. And we ask, how do you know? Well, because I don't use it. And that's a regular occurrence of companies looking at their own, I guess, biasty or their own perspective that if they're not engaged, their customers aren't. Can you tell us a little bit more about how to understand the diversity of the consumer base nowadays?
Well, I mean, I think the big thing you need to look at is just the numbers. I mean, we've got 310 or 12 million people living in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Almost twice that many people had Facebook accounts at the beginning of last year.
Yep.
It's more than that now. It's almost 3 times that. Facebook, I think, in August is supposed to surpass 1 billion accounts. Now, obviously, it's a global audience. And, yeah, there's probably a few people out there that have a couple of accounts. But, I mean, you're looking at website usage according to Pew Internet and the people that actually monitor the number of Edison Research, the people that actually do research on the number of people that are actually using these platforms. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at 78, 85, 90% of segments of the United States consumers that are on Facebook regularly, not just have accounts, but like literally on it for an hour a day even. Twitter doesn't have quite the population, but you're still looking at, a couple 100 million accounts. There are more than 100 million users on LinkedIn now. The average time spent on Twitter as of last year was 2 hours and 12 minutes per month, which, in a month is not a whole lot of time.
Right.
But at the same time, people are actually using, not just using it's not just that people are on these networks, but they're using them. And so this has kind of become the new way that the public communicates. And so when a CEO says to me, well, I'm not using social media and therefore my customers aren't, all you have to do is show them the stats and say, look, if you're a logic-thinking human being, you cannot deny that people are using these platforms.
Absolutely.
And you cannot deny that your audience is probably there.
And there are even tools that will let you look to see if your customer list is on there. You just upload your email list to any of these tools.
One of those, like GIF.com. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So you can actually do some research and see if your customers are on there. And I've told companies, tell you what, one of us is right. Why don't you take an hour and base your whole, you can look and find the evidence and then base the rest of your marketing strategy on what you find.
Absolutely. One of the key points that you talk about the mind shift for social media marketing success is that your social media fans, as much as we're talking about these statistics, are still a subset of your consumer base or your customer base. That's absolutely accurate. That you still need to pay attention. I mean, you can't go all chips in on social media and not pay attention to how you connect with your overall customer base. But that subset's growing by leaps and bounds, isn't it?
Oh, sure. In fact, the fastest growing demographic on Facebook is women between the ages of 50 and 60. And, everyone says, oh, social media is just for kids. Well, it might be for kids, but, now our moms and dads are on there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There's got to be companies that are selling to women ages 50 to 60 that think their customers aren't on it.
Hey, we wanted to ask you one question. As you interact with companies and executives who are looking at their own resources internally and realizing that they may not have the time or the talent in-house to be able to manage their social media accounts and their social media marketing, I'd like to ask you, what do you recommend that they pay attention to whenever they're interviewing different companies to outsource this particular management, their brand, and moreover, their voice of communication in social media? Can you kind of go through a couple hit lists of what they should be asking these vendors?
Yeah, they definitely want to be looking for experience. You want companies that have experience with community management, with producing social content, with running and driving campaigns on Facebook, Twitter, the social networks that are of concern to you. And I think that the biggest question, the two biggest things you're looking for are, can they produce compelling content on behalf of your company? And they're going to be able to show that in the content that they've produced for other companies in the past. And then are they also going to be able to have the amount of staff and personnel needed to provide that sort of real-time coverage of your social channels? Now, that depends on, are you going to be performing, or are you going to have them perform some, superficial customer service on Twitter, for instance? Your company may not need to do that, so that may not be a primary requirement. But community management is something that most companies these days are looking for and need to outsource because they just don't have the internal experience or capabilities. But the content, I think, is the key thing. You want people who are going to be able to write compelling blog posts, compose compelling tweets, Facebook posts, et cetera, that are going to engage an audience and lead them to your website to take an action of some sort. So the content thing is the key. And really, these days, you're not going to want to hire someone who hasn't already done it for someone else. We've reached a maturation point in the social media world that the rookies are going to have a hard time getting clients because there has to be some sort of proven level of experience at play here.
Excellent. I was going to ask you, gentlemen, both, there's so many social media tools out there. We wanted to hear, what is your favorite social media management tool? Maybe not just analytics, but what do you highly recommend that you use regularly?
I use Twitter the most. It's fast communication. If I have a random thought, I can share it. If I have something that I've been reading that would be interesting to my network, I can share that, and I can use that to direct traffic back to my blog, which is my other favorite tool.
Very cool. How about you, Jason?
And I think I'll go a little deeper. I mean, I agree with Eric. I use Twitter probably more than any other social network, but let me throw this out there for the business owners. I'm really a big fan of Argyle Social, and it's spelled just like it sounds, Argyle, like the socks, social.com. And Argyle Social basically allows you, it has a tweet deck-like interface called the Waterfall, where you can post you can manage Twitter and then also Facebook and a couple of other social networks there. So it allows you to engage with your audience, but more importantly, it allows you to share shortened URLs that are trackable and measurable, kind of like Bitly or maybe Hootsuite does.
Right.
But it allows you to actually install also on your website some back-end code so that you can say, okay, I shared the fact that we were selling this product on Twitter, and because of that one tweet, I sold $4,000 worth of product.
Oh, that's right.
And so you can actually draw a line between what you tweeted or what you posted on Facebook and how much money you made.
Oh.
You can really start to calculate an ROI of those activities. And Argyle Social was built specifically for that. There's lots of other tools out there that can do engagement and publishing and monitoring and so on and so forth, but I would probably bring Argyle Social in to lay on top of any other tool I'm using, because it allows me to put a definitive number on the tweets and whatnot that I throw out there and what I'm getting back from them.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking your time this morning and talking to us. It's invaluable information. I'm sure listeners of the show are going to benefit from that. Site Strategics is also a co-sponsor of Jason and Eric's book launch that Tuesday over at the Jazz Kitchen in Broad Ripple, and we're really proud to be part of that. You guys have a great book, and we want to advocate that to all of our listeners as well as our clients. Thank you so much for attending. And for our listeners, if there's any questions that you want to ask, you can hit our Edge Talk hashtag, or can we go ahead and give your Twitter handles out so they can follow you?
Sure. I'm Jason Falls, and he's E. Deckers.
E. Deckers and Jason Falls on Twitter. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much,
Sure,
and we'll talk to you very soon.